Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a video on everything that you need to know for launch in New World. Some useful tips and tricks, things that you can use that you might not have known about. Some of you might know some of them and not others, and it's just going to be basically going over some of the basics, some intermediate stuff and some cheeky little tips in there that are going to really help you out once we get into launch, and some stuff on here that when I've done my research I'd actually forgot about myself, so even just as a personal reminder, this is going to be a super useful video. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking in the comments which server that I'm planning to play on. Obviously, right now we don't have the server list, so I'm going to have to wait for that to come out before I make any decisions there. Especially playing in the EU, they are supposed to be having language-specific servers, or at least language-suggested servers, so I'm going to be waiting on that. But I just want to give a big shout-out to everybody. Thank you all for the amazing support. Thank you to all my channel members for taking that up. It's amazing. I've got some of you guys on there already, which is fantastic. So I'm going to go through these fairly quick pace. They're just going to be kind of tips, little tips and tricks that I'm just going to blast through for you guys so you get as much information and content out of this video as possible without it being kind of too rambly, which I do like to do sometimes. So let's jump straight into it here. The first thing is going to be that you can skip the tutorial. From the escape menu when you start the game, you can just press escape, then click skip to new world, and it will skip you through the tutorial. When you choose a faction, if you get it wrong or you want to make a change, you do get one free change instantly. You don't have to wait 120 days for that, but the caveat to that is that you cannot change to the most dominant faction currently. So if a lot of your friends or company members have chosen one particular faction, you probably won't then be able to choose that one, unfortunately. So try to be as careful as you possibly can, otherwise you will have to wait 120 days if you do change it and then change it again. So choose carefully. You're going to want to make sure that you've got as much healing foods and potions on you as possible when you're doing quests, especially if you're going to be PvP flagged, because you never know when you might bump into somebody. These obviously help with sustain, and if you do craft them yourself, you'll level up your cooking and arcana skill while you're going along, which is always super useful. You're going to be using these throughout the entire game, so I'd strongly recommend crafting them as well to save yourself a little bit of money. On top of that, eating food does give you a buff to recover 1% of your health every 2.5 seconds for 20 minutes, which is super good. And also note with this that water can actually be used early game and, well, all throughout the game to heal yourself. It doesn't do as much as cooked foods, but it is very easy to obtain. So what I like to do is get between 100 and 150-ish water from a river or whatever I spawn nearby, put it into one of my slots, my consumable slots in my inventory, so it doesn't take up any weight, and then just use that as I'm questing, because it's very easily accessible and it's just a quick boost of HP when you do use it. So it's great to have just there available to use. Also note with this that regen and health pots have a separate cooldown, so you can actually use both of them in conjunction with one another should you get super low, and these will both heal your health back up a substantial amount, particularly when you get to those tier 3 and 4 plus potions. Now, you should always gather on your way around a Eternum, whether you're questing, doing town board quests, faction quests, whatever the case may be, or if you're just traveling from one location to the next. There's a saying that goes, never go back to town without a full backpack, and that's something that really rings home. It really works to give that extra XP whilst you're out questing, because obviously gathering does give XP for you, especially when you level up or hit certain milestones like 25 and 50 and so on. And these are going to be really helpful, because obviously when you then get back to base as well, you're able to refine those materials that you've gathered into something else, which then you can sell, or indeed you can craft those again into something else to essentially triple your XP from that, on top of any quests that you've managed to do along the way. So you can get super far ahead by combining all of these features, not to mention that the crafting system is super rewarding in New World. Make use of the town board quests. They're still good XP, even though it's been nerfed, they're still very decent. A lot of the time, it's just stuff you can do as you're going along the pathway to your next quest or whatever super easily. And on top of that, it can often be things you've already got in your bank. So it can be very useful to just keep doing these. So I would always make sure to stay on top of them. When you are buying something from the market, it is always wise to check the All Settlements tab. This will show you the price of all of the different settlements for the item that you're looking for. And often you can find it cheaper elsewhere. And if you can't, you know you're in the right spot. Now, this isn't so useful for buying things like potions, because generally they're widely available for a cheap price. But if you're going to be investing in something like the next tier of tools, armor, weapons, or satchels, for example, anything that's going to be a big gold investment, it is certainly worth checking between which one has got the cheapest price in order to purchase it from that settlement instead. If you've got an item in your inventory that you want to link to chat, either to your company or to global, you can alt-click this item and it will link it to the chat. You can then also type a message after it should you want to, or indeed just link the item itself, which allows other players to hover over this, click on it, and see which item you've actually got. Main story quests and side quests give the most XP in the game currently, so it's the fastest way to level up, but gathering, refining, and crafting, all of these have a lot of benefits, plus give great XP, and as I mentioned before, it's something you can do as you're going along through the game. So don't sleep on these crafting side of things. It's going to be really useful. It's going to help you to beat the big sweaty players who are just hammering out side quests, hammering out the main quest, getting loads of XP. If you're just going at a steady pace, but also crafting, refining, and gathering, you're going to catch those guys up and supersede them in a great amount of time. You're going to be way less playtime and be able to catch up with those people very easily, so certainly do not sleep on that. When you level up your tracking and skinning, mining and harvesting, etc. skills, so your trade skills there, your gathering trade skills, at certain levels your items will start to get tracked on the HUD or the heads-up display at the top of the screen where the compass is. So for example, at level 50 mining, you'll start to see certain things pop up. Level 50 gathering, certain things will pop up, and this is really useful for gathering and power leveling your gathering skills, because you'll be able to see the resources that you need a lot more easily on the map. And of course, on top of this, when you get to the rarer resources, as soon as you get near to one, especially if you use an external map to try and pinpoint where they are, as soon as you get near to it in game, it will pop up showing you where that is, and you'll be able to then go straight towards it, which is always really nice. At the beginning of the game, when all of the settlements are untaken, it costs a company 100,000 gold to claim an unclaimed settlement, and this can be done by going to the fort associated with that settlement, going up to the flag and having 100,000 gold on the player and clicking purchase territory. Some of the best ways to make early money will be gathering and getting and crafting these higher tier tools. So for example, getting onto steel tools early and star metal tools early, or at least ahead of the main crowd, is going to net you a huge amount of profit, providing you've obviously got somewhere to craft them. So you're going to need those tier 3 and tier 4 engineering stations in order to do that. So do make sure there is some on the map before you power level it, but as soon as there is, make sure you're on top of that, because that's going to make you a lot of money. On top of this, consumables, so food and potions, are always going to be good. Again, especially those higher tier level tier 3, tier 4s that other people don't have access to yet, are always going to sell well. And obviously bags and satchels, when you can get those of a higher tier 3 and 4 again, plus even tier 5s when you get there, are always going to sell really well. But do bear in mind that you do need to level up your faction standing, so you need to level up the actual standing level in the faction to be able to get the higher tier tokens which you need in order to craft these bags. So that one's going to take a little bit more time, hence why it will be even more profitable when you do get there. But do make sure you don't rush that out and then wonder why you can't buy it. You always need those runes of holding, the minor one obviously being for that first bag there. Now that being said, crafting your first bag, obviously you get one from doing the quest there, which drops the bag for you, but if you craft one on your own with a minor rune of holding, which you can get from the tier 1 faction shop, will actually allow you to basically double your inventory space from what the original bag gives you, because you just get a regular grey bag from that quest. When you craft your own one, it's got double the capacity of the first one, which means it gives you plus 100 or so, maybe even more than that, instead of the plus 50 which the quest item gives you. Now, this is really good, particularly if you are going to be gathering, but even just for looting things like Amarine Temple when you get there, and Starstone Barrows, and obviously for PvP and all that kind of thing as well. When you're picking things up, which we all do in New World all the time, this is going to be great. Now, if you've got Azov spare as well, something really useful that you can do is actually add some Azov into the craft, which will guarantee you to get a perk on it. Now, getting a perk on it will be things like extra pockets, where it just gives extra space, or things like where alchemy items way less, mining items way less. Either way, any of these perks are super useful, particularly early game, so I would certainly recommend doing that. The only benefit that you actually get from power leveling in the game is that invasions require you to be level 50 plus in order to participate in them. So obviously if your company owns a settlement, you can then defend that settlement from invasions, but you will need a few people to do that. It's no good just having 1 or 2, so you'll need a few to be up to that level 50 mark. And of course, reaching max level of level 60 unlocks all of the game's content. You can equip any armor and weapons that you pick up. You can obviously enjoy all of the expeditions, all of the PvP side of things, and you're going to be more powerful in PvP and PvE as well. But other than that, I would definitely just enjoy the game at your own pace. Play whatever playstyle works for you. If it's power leveling, cool. If it's chilling and crafting, cool. Do whatever you want to do and just enjoy the game, because there's benefits and pros and cons to each way of playing, so do your own thing. Your taxes that are used from stations in town when you craft things, refine things, or indeed use the trading post actually goes to the owning company's bank. So when you use that settlement for any purposes, it goes to the owning company. Now, if it's your own company, you will still be taxed, so bear that in mind, but obviously it does just go back into your own people, so hopefully they can help support you through anything that you do lose from taxes there as well further in the game. And bear in mind that these can be changed once every 24 hours, so there is some sneaky companies out there that like to just adjust these prices a little bit, so bear that in mind when you log back on the next day. Just check what the prices are, because it might be that they set them at 5% trading tax on day 1 and day 2 all the way up to 20%, so bear that in mind and always check tax brackets before you do go and use those stations in that settlement. There is a help channel in game which is generally quite useful. I've seen most questions answered on there to be pretty good. Obviously you'll get a few plebeians who like to just make your mum jokes, etc. as soon as you ask a question, but on the whole these are generally pretty helpful people who've got a decent amount of knowledge about the game, and it can certainly be useful when you're logging in either for the first time or not for a while, or maybe you've forgotten where to gather something from. These people can certainly help you out, so it's worth asking every time and make use of that channel. Remember that you can cook and craft potions on your own campfire. Now there's two benefits of this. Obviously you can do it on the go, which is really useful, and the higher tier you get your campfire to actually allows you to craft higher tier foods and potions on the fly, which is always really useful. But on top of that, you are not paying tax for using the cooking station and the Arcana repository, which means you can avoid taxing yourself on crafting those things, albeit it's not that much tax. But if you really don't want to get taxed and you're saving up gold for something, this can be a really nice way to just get a little advantage on that gold and economic boost. Now also remember that wars are 50v50 for the settlement, so even if one faction seems to have significantly more players, or at least in the areas you're in you seem to be outnumbered, at the end of the day, even if your company owns a settlement or your faction owns a settlement, it can only be 50 players versus 50 players, so you've always got a decent chance of winning that war. Now that being said, open world could be a little bit funky from time to time, but Amazon are working on making the balance as good as it can possibly be, so I'm sure we'll see some updates on that just before the launch goes ahead. Now, one last thing here is that you can actually change your starting town, but to be honest, I wouldn't worry too much about it. A lot of people get kind of aggravated, I guess, at the way of, oh, I don't want to spawn out here, I want to spawn with my friends. But the main story quest in that area only lasts from 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending how quick you are going through it and everything like that. But it's a very short section of the main quest, which shortly sends you to the main settlement. And from there, obviously, you can move around a lot easier. Or indeed, shortly then sends you to Windswood for the main story quest, where you'll need to go and speak to the fisherman. And from that point on, you can group up very easily, as all of your friends and company members will be doing the same lower level quests in that area, meaning everybody travels up towards Windswood. So certainly, if you're not too bothered about playing with your friends from the get-go, just do those first maybe hour or so maximum between yourselves in a call, whatever you want to do, and then you can all group up just after that, which is very easy to do and very quick and efficient to make sure you're not missing out on any XP re-rolling or running around, etc. And each of these starting zones do actually have their own charm as well, so I'm sure you'll find some cool things in the zone that you start in. So hopefully you guys have found this video useful and informative. I've tried to throw a lot of stuff at you there that's going to be useful things to know and to remember for launch. Obviously, like I said at the beginning there, a few of these I'd forgotten, and when I went through to kind of do some research for this, I thought, oh, that's a really good thing. I didn't know about that, especially the water. I actually got that from Fusion Thunder's video when I was watching that a couple of days ago and remembered it, so big shout out to him. I'll leave his channel linked in the description. If you don't know who he is, feel free to check him out. Really awesome content creator. But other than that, yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, found it useful and informative. If you have, please do be sure to leave a like on today's video, as it really does help me and the video do well. And if you are new to the channel and you'd like to see more New World content, I'm uploading every single day, so please do feel free to subscribe down below with the notification bell on. And we have got some really good informative content coming up very soon, so make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss out on any of that. Other than that, as always, if you do want to join the Discord community, we have over 600 members, nearly at 700 now. It's going absolutely crazy out there. We've got tons of people chatting about all things New World. It's really cool. So if you'd like to get involved there, chat with me, chat with others, then get yourself involved through the link down below in the description and the comments. It'd be great to have you over there. Other than that, if you would like to join me and support me here as a creator on YouTube through the membership program, the join button is just below today's video. You can see the price ranges we have available and what perks they offer for you. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care and peace.